Chinese equivalents of King Saul. Both rulers, like Saul, started well but led their kingdoms to ruin due to poor leadership. King Yu misused his power, while King Zhou was tyrannical, both losing the mandate of heaven, similar to how Saul lost God's favor.
King Yu of Zhou, Zhou Yu Wang, frequently cited for his misuse of power, specifically the lighting the beacon fires to fool the feudal lords story. Similar to Saul's disobedience and descent into folly, King Yu's actions caused him to lose the confidence of his allies, leading to the end of the Western Zhou dynasty. King Zhou of Shang, Di Xin, Zhou Wang, known for being tyrannical and abandoning the divine mission, similar to how Saul disobeyed God. Both figures are associated with dramatic downfall, often characterized by moral failings and the loss of the mandate of heaven. Contextual note: in Chinese theology, the mandate of heaven, Tian Ming, operates similarly to the divine sanction in the Bible. When a ruler loses this, they fall, and a new, more righteous leader takes over, comparable to the transition from Saul to David. These comparisons focus on the archetypal, fallen king, rather than a direct, one-to-one translation of names.
Qi Yu and his tribe, or the Li and Samiao peoples. Qi Yu, a demon god, represents chaos and violence, opposing the Yellow Emperor, much like the Philistines did. These groups are seen as barbarian counterparts.
Based on the role of a persistent, antagonistic force in early historical myth, the equivalent to the Philistines in Chinese mythology and early history is often considered to be the Qiyu, Kaiyu, and his tribe, or generally the Li, and Sanmiao peoples. They represent the chaotic, violent other opposing the Yellow Emperor, Huangdi. Qiyu, Kaiyu, a demon god or warlord often associated with violence, war, and chaos in northern Chinese traditions. Serving as a primary antagonist to the foundational heroes, similar to how the Philistines opposed early Israelite leaders. The Western threat, similar to the coastal, western pressure of the Philistines. The classic of mountains and seas frequently presents threatening tribes or monsters from the west and south, like the Aoyan or Moe, as antagonistic, man-eating, or civilized world-disrupting forces. The barbarian counterpart, in the broader mythological historical context, groups like the Sanmiao acted as the recurring enemies of the central, civilized Hua, embodying the chaotic antagonistic force in foundational sagas. The Miao have no written records, but they have a rich oral literature of myths, history and folk tales and many legends in verse, which they learn to repeat and sing. Some Miao recorded their lives and stories on stitched story cloths. The Black Miao treasure poetical legends about creation and a great flood. These are composed in lines of 5 syllables. In stanzas of unequal length, one interrogative and one responsive. They are sung or recited by 2 persons or 2 groups at feasts and festivals, often by a group of young men and young women. Creation of the world, the birth of the Miao people, and their battles and migrations. A typical Miao creation myth is the ancient maple song. White maple was an immortal tree that gave birth to Butterfly Mama. She married a water bubble and then laid 12 eggs. The treetop changed into a big bird that hatched the eggs over a period of 12 years. When the eggs hatched, they gave birth to a thunder god, a dragon, a buffalo, a tiger, an elephant, a snake, a centipede, a boy called Zhongyang, and his sister. So Butterfly Mama was the mother of God, animals, and human beings. Source: C. LeBlanc. Worldmark Encyclopedia of Cultures and Daily Life, Cengage Learning, 2009. Samuel R. Clarke wrote in Among the Tribes of Southwest China in 1911. The Miao have plenty of legends handed down from earlier times. Who composed these legends no one knows. They are taught by the older people to the girls and boys. Many of them are in verse. 5 syllables to a line, the stanzas being of unequal length, one stanza interrogative and one responsive. These are sung or recited at their festivals by 2 persons or 2 groups. Generally one group of young men and one group of young women, one group interrogating and the other responding. Among these legends, which I have written down from the dictation of my Hey Miao teacher, is a story of Jay the creation and a story of the flood. Source: Among the Tribes of Southwest China by Samuel R. Clarke, China Inland Mission, 1911. Not only do the Miao sing and recite the old legends in verse, handed down from very early times, but they are also, or at least some of them are, great storytellers. Some of these stories I took down from the dictation of my Miao teacher. They are not like Chinese stories, which are moral or immoral, mostly moral. Miao stories are not moral. But if we should say they were immoral, it might suggest a wrong opinion of them. We might, I think, call them unmoral, for they do not teach or illustrate the beauty of filial piety, loyalty, truthfulness, or any other moral excellence. In their stories one or more persons are clumsily crafty, and other persons are preternaturally simple. It is the crafty or lying people who always come off best, to the confusion of all honest and simple folk. That sort of thing amuses them immensely. Some of their stories profess to explain in an amusing, if not satisfactory, way how certain things happen to be as they are, such as why they have no written characters, and why the sun rises when the cock crows. In one well-known Miao story, men and monkeys used to live in harmony. But man was jealous that the monkey's fields produced more rice than his, so he tricked the monkey into exchanging fields with him. Even then man wasn't satisfied. When the monkey, hungry because his fields were so unproductive, asked man what he should do, man told the monkey to kill his children, which would leave him with more food. The monkey took the advice and murdered all of his children. That night man sneaked into the monkey's house and gathered up the bodies. The next day the monkey found the man eating something and asked him what it was. Only birds' intestines, the man replied. Not long afterwards the monkey realized the truth, and in a rage decided to live in the forest. Now he only comes in out of the forest to steal man's crops because man had deceived him and stolen the souls of his children. According to one Miao creation myth, many, many years ago men lived underground with the animals and the world was nothing but black rock. One day a man and his wife followed a monkey and a dog through a series of long tunnels that lead to the surface of the earth. Upon seeing the nothingness that covered their planet, the man and women returned to their subterranean world to collect some seeds and worms which they brought back to the surface. From the seeds sprouted plants, which in turn multiplied, bringing life to the earth. The legend of the creation by the Black Miao goes, who made heaven and earth? Who made insects? Who made men? Made male and made female? I who speak don't know. Heavenly King made heaven and earth. Zine made insects, Zine made men and demons, made male and made female. Source: E.T.C. Werner, Myths and Legends of China, London. George G. Harrap and Company, 1922, pp. 406-408, How is it you don't know? How made heaven and earth? How made insects? How made men and demons? Made male and made female? I who speak don't know. Heavenly King was intelligent, spat a lot of spittle into his hand, clapped his hands with a noise, produced heaven and earth, tall grass made insects, stories made men and demons, made men and demons, made male and made female. How is it you don't know? Made heaven in what way? Made earth in what way? Thus by rote I sing, but don't understand. The poem then goes on to relate how heaven and earth were kept apart after they were separated. They tried all sorts of wood and all sorts of metal, and at length decided to prop up heaven with pillars made of silver. But where were they to get fire to melt the silver? Fire had gone up to heaven. How were they to bring it down? Fire eventually came down from heaven in a stone, and with raw steel and tinder they extracted the fire from the stone. After heaven had been propped up with silver pillars, the sun and moon and Milky Way were fixed in their places. The sun, however, went away and would not come back. Thereupon they sent various beasts and birds to call the sun to return. But they would not go, or if they went, the sun refused to come at their call. Finally, they sent the cock to call the sun to return, and when the cock crew the sun came back. The poem concludes that the proof of this is that when the cock crows the sun rises. Source: Among the Tribes of Southwest China, by Samuel R. Clarke, China Inland Mission, 1911. The Miao have many versions of a Noah-like flood story. The version told to H. J. Hewitt by the Hua Miao goes, two brothers plowed a field one day, and next morning found the soil all replaced and smoothed over as if it had never been disturbed. This happened 4 times. And being greatly perplexed, they decided to plow the field over once more and observe what happened. In the middle of the night, while the brothers were watching, one on one side of the field and the other on the other side, they saw an old woman descend from heaven with a board in her hand, who, after replacing the clods of earth, smoothed them with the board. The elder brother at once shouted to the younger one to come and help him to kill the old woman who had undone all their work. But the younger brother suggested that they should first ask her why she did this and put them to so much trouble. So they asked the old woman why she had acted so, and made them labor in vain. She then told them it was useless for them to waste time in plowing land as a great flood was coming to drown the world. She then advised the younger brother, because he had been kind to her and prevented the elder brother killing her, to save himself in a huge wooden drum. He was to cut down a tree, hollow it out from the bottom upwards, and nail a piece of skin over the opening. She told the elder brother, because he had wished to kill her, to make for himself an iron drum. They were each to retire into their respective drums when the flood came. Source: Among the Tribes of Southwest China, by Samuel R. Clarke, China. When the flood came and the waters rose, the younger brother invited his sister to take refuge in his drum, and she did so. The elder brother was drowned in his iron drum, but the younger brother and his sister were safely preserved in the wooden one. The waters rose halfway up to heaven, and so high were the brother and sister carried in the hollow tree. With the rush of water they were carried hither and thither, and the tree at length was seen by one of the genii of heaven, who thought it was some huge creature with as many horns as the tree had branches. He was very much alarmed, and said, "I have only 12 horns, but this thing has many more. Whatever shall I do?" Thereupon he cried out for the dragon, lizards, tadpoles, and eels to clear out the channels and make holes for the waters of the flood to recede, and thus deliver him from the monster with so many horns. Through the efforts of the dragon and his crew, after 20 days the waters subsided, and the hollow tree stuck halfway down a steep and dangerous precipice. Then it came to pass that an eagle built its nest and hatched 2 young ones. This suggested a mode of deliverance from their difficult situation to the young man. He plucked some hair from his head, plaited a small cord, and with this tied the wings of the young eagles so that when they were fledged they were unable to fly. The mother bird was much perplexed when in due time her young ones could not fly, and went to consult a fairy about it. The fairy said, "Go and ask the stem of the tree near to which your nest is built, and it will tell you what to do. In return for this you must take the tree and fly away with it down to the ground." So the bird flew back to its nest, and addressing the tree, said, "Let my young ones fly, I pray thee." The man in the tree refed, "If I let them fly, will you carry me down to the ground in safety?" The eagle promised to do so, and the young man at once unfastened the cords he had tied round the wings of the young eagles, and they were immediately able to fly. Then the eagle took the tree, with the brother and sister in it, and flew with it down to the ground. On coming out from their late abode, these two survivors found themselves in great straits. They had no companions, no fire, and no rice to eat. The brother, seeing a red bird not far from him, picked up a piece of old iron and struck at it. The bird flew away, and the iron struck a rock which gave forth a spark. Thus they discovered the way to get fire, and having gathered some dry stalks, they made a fire at which they warmed themselves. In most versions of the Miao flood story, only 2 people were saved in a large bottle gourd used as a boat, and these were Az and his sister. After the flood, the brother wished his sister to become his wife, but she objected to this as not being proper. At length she proposed that one should take the upper and one the lower millstone, and going to opposite hills should set the stones rolling to the valley between. If these should be found in the valley properly adjusted on above the other, she would be his wife. But not if they came to rest apart. The young man, considering it unlikely that 2 stones thus rolled down from opposite hills would be found in the valley, one upon another, while pretending to accept the test suggested, secretly placed 2 other stones in the valley, one upon the other. The stones rolled from the hills were lost in the tall wild grass. And on descending into the valley, Az called his sister to come and see the stones he had placed. She, however, was not satisfied, and suggested as another test that each should take a knife from a double sheath and, going again to the opposite hilltops, hurl them into the valley below. If both these knives were found in the sheath in the valley, she would marry him, but if the knives were found apart, they would live apart. Again the brother surreptitiously placed 2 knives in the sheath, and, the experiment ending as Az wished, his sister became his wife. They had 1 child, a misshapen thing without arms or legs, which Az in great anger killed and cut to pieces. He threw the pieces all over the hill, and next morning, on awakening, he found these pieces transformed into men and women. Thus the earth was repeopled. Source: E.T.C. Werner, Myths and